is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Haley Cairo if you guys are new, and if you are a returning subscriber, I'm so glad you guys are back for another video. So today is the day I'm gonna be sharing our little mini kitchen renovation. If you guys didn't see over on Instagram, shameless plug, we decided to paint the cabinets. We had red oak, hideous cabinets. I'm sorry if you like red oak, I'm just not a fan. And we decided to do the whole shebang, take the cabinets off, sand them, clean them, paint them, and I'm gonna share with you guys how we did that. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to Skillshare for partnering with me on this video. Skillshare is an online learning center with thousands of courses in all different types of area, whether you're into photography, design, social media marketing, interior design, which is what I've been using it for lately. They have a course for you. You can join Skillshare for as little as $10 a month, but you also get a free trial, which I highly recommend you guys checking out. I will have links down below for that. But I have been loving the interior design basics from Havenly, as well as the Style Your Space creative tips. I'm gonna share with you guys this. Emily Henderson is one of my favorite designers. I follow her on Instagram, and she has the Style Your Space creative tips and techniques. And I absolutely love this course. It helps you to identify your style and figure out what pieces work best for you. If you guys are not aware, we moved into this house in March, and we've been renovating it and trying to design it and make sure that it is a space that we love. And instead of hiring an interior designer, I went to Skillshare to kind of do it myself and be my own designer and make sure I was crafting the perfect space for us. So if you guys would like a 7-day free trial of Skillshare, I will have it linked down below for you guys, as well as some of my favorite courses that I've taken in the past, as well as the ones that I'm currently taking. So another little fun thing is I keep the Skillshare app on my phone because I do take most of the courses on my computer. However, if I'm ever like waiting for something, I'm at the doctor's office and I want to, catch up on a course on my phone, because sometimes you just need to, you want to get creative. This is like productivity. This makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something rather than just like listening to a podcast, I mean, there's nothing wrong with podcasts. I adore podcasts, but I like feeling productive. What you can do after you do your free month membership, you can do $99. It's $99.99 a year for unlimited access to all the courses you could ever want from Skillshare. It's $99.99 a year for unlimited access to all the courses you could ever want from Skillshare, or $18.99 a month. There's thousands of classes. It's all on demand. Definitely check it out. All right, so the kitchen renovation. When we moved into this house, one of the things that I knew I wanted to do was paint the kitchen cabinets, because we're not gonna be able to renovate the kitchen for probably like, if I had to say, I'm giving it like a 10-year gap, because we have a lot of projects in this house. If you guys haven't seen some of my other videos talking about the renovation process and what all needs to happen to this house, it's a process and it's gonna take forever. We just don't have the time or the money. Mostly the money. One of the perks with the kitchen when we bought it is that it had granite countertops and it had relatively new appliances. So Kyle loved it, and I was just looking at it, how can I change this? Because I do not like red oak. Horrible. I digress. I have the full vision for what I would like the kitchen to be in the big renovation, which also includes the dining room. And that's kind of why the dogs are in the dining room, because they've chewed most of the trim, and it's okay because it's all coming down anyway. But the kitchen needed just to be lightened up because we had redone all the floors, the fireplace painted. It's very airy and bright in here. And when you turned and looked at the kitchen, we have dark backsplash, dark appliances, dark counters, and red oak counters. And we were just like, ugh. So I knew we needed to do something. And my friend Morgan, she is Miss Handy Lady. She's so independent, so good with all the DIY stuff. So I basically rallied her to come help me for the week while Kyle was away, and we knocked it out in a few days. I definitely recommend having help if you're gonna do it, because it is very time consuming, and I was doing it while working and taking care of the boys, and it was a lot. But let's talk about the process. So one thing I want to say that you really need to make sure you do is the prep. You have to sand every single cabinet, front, back, sides, the panels that the cabinets are attached to, like the actual structure. You need to wipe them down with like Dawn, make sure that they're dry before you can even start priming. So make sure you do that. Do not skip that step. These are the two products that we're going to be using. Now, this is pretty important. Definitely do your research on process and like the different products that you can use, because there's a lot. But what I want to say is I went to Lowe's twice to get the sample and then the actual paint, and I talked to 2 different people. So it's really good to get multiple opinions, because the first guy I talked to didn't recommend doing a primer with this because it's already built in. However, because it says like no sanding or priming needed. However, the people that I talked to today said that it's better to do it anyway, so that way the paint bonds to the primer and not the wood if you ever want to like change it out. Plus it just makes it more durable. We are still going to sand a little bit, and I'm very excited. So we are doing Valspar cabinet furniture paint in a satin finish in Sherwin Snowbound, and then this is their stain blocking bonding primer. Now our island is like a vinyl on the back side of it. That's not real red oak. So I needed to make sure that we had a really good primer. So we used a Zinsser oil-based primer. This stuff smells like the devil, but it works really well. It gives it a really good base. If you go to Lowe's, we get our stuff at Lowe's, it's just closer to our house. They're gonna try to sell you the Valspar cabinet and furniture paint. On there it says does not require sanding and does not require primer, 1 coat only. Do not listen to that. I don't care what they try to tell you. You need to sand and you need to prime, because you're gonna be repainting those cabinets in a year and you're not gonna be happy about it. The benefit of sanding is that it gives some texture for the primer to stick to, gives that adherence factor, that kind of buffer. It's also going to make it much more durable, because it's really gonna lock in that top coat. Now, the cabinet and furniture Valspar paint is not an epoxy. There is an epoxy paint from Sherwin that Morgan really recommended, but we decided to try this because it was at Lowe's and I couldn't get to a Sherwin. Now the benefit of the primer, aside from it locking in the paint, it's also giving it another coat. So essentially, we probably would have had to do 4 or 5 coats of paint to cover the red oak if we didn't use a primer, because once we did 1 coat, we feel like there's no way in halibut that 1 coat of paint is gonna cover this. The red oak was showing through and it was actually looking a little grayish blue. So yeah, that was a no. Couple things I really recommend having before you start this project is a power drill. If you don't have one, the screwdriver is gonna take a really long time. So you have to remove the cabinets to do the painting. It's not a step you can skip, because when you open the cabinets and you're painting where like the hinges are, you're gonna eventually run into areas where you're gonna either like have to close something and then the paint's not dry yet and it's gonna get everywhere and clump, and it's just, you can't get where you need to get if you don't take the cabinets off. You don't have to take the hinges off completely. You can paint around them. It's totally up to you. I actually left ours on because I was like, I know we're gonna be not having these forever. I'm not super concerned what the insides look like, as long as we do a really good job with the outsides and the sides of the cabinet that you can still see. I'm totally fine with it. So yes, make sure you have a drill and a different size drill bits so you can take all of the cabinets off. Now you're gonna need a system for keeping your cabinets and drawers organized. The reason you want to do this is because let's say you have similar looking or similar sized cabinets and drawers in different areas of your kitchen. If you take off drawer A and you take off drawer B and you put them and you swap them when you go to put them back on, because the cabinets are older, they've warped, they've kind of meshed to their location, they might not fit properly if you switch them up. So what I did was drew a diagram. All right, so Morgan made me draw out the kitchen so that way we can organize each cabinet and drawer on sticky notes.
This is extra important because not all cabinet doors and drawers are made equal. And once they've been sitting in your kitchen, they warp to their location.
See, I needed her for this whole project. I've already messed up like 20 times.
So I can't just slap this drawer face back on that drawer and expect it to work. It'll be loppy and uneven and it just won't work.
Damn.
So label, organize, make your diagrams.
Morgan should start her own DIY channel.
Maybe.
You should. You've done so many projects.
Just have you do it. And you be the magic maker.
We can try. I mean, I think it'd be great.
Well, let's see how
Make it with
turns
Morgan.
out.
You've already got the Instagram handle.
Yes! Make it with Morgan. Now let's see if the sticky notes live. So it'll be
We made the cabinets and drawers on the island letters and the other side numbers. And so I numbered all of the cabinets and all of the drawers, lettered them for the island, did the diagram, and then on sticky notes, put sticky notes on the cabinets. Now you have to have something to prop these cabinets up on when you're painting them, because you can't just like hold them, because you're eventually gonna be holding wet paint. So you need something to lay them on. Luckily, I had a ton of ghost tubs that I could just, we actually primed all of the kitchen first before we primed the cabinets, just to kind of get that done. Okay, so it's like 10:30 at night. We have the whole kitchen primed, and we've also started to cut in with the actual color. I can already really tell that it's going to be exactly what we want. I'm very excited. The paint's going on really easily. Thought this process was going to be a lot more difficult, and so far I'm loving it. It also helps that Morgan really knows what she's doing, so we're just moving through it pretty quickly. So this is just primed, and then you can kind of see where the paint is cut in here. But yeah. Also, I think we're gonna go with an antique brass, so like a darker brass. I just think it'll complement the tones that we have in here really nicely. You can kind of see. It'll be like, you know, like that. So we were gonna do black, but I think this is a little more different. So nighttime, and we will finish up tomorrow. And then we did a layer of primer. I started with the inside of the cabinets because when you flip them over to paint the fronts, if the backs get a little damaged, I wasn't too concerned. Now we did the primer all in one night and then started the first coat of the paint the next day. I just recommend doing that. It just makes sure that you have like a really solid foundation. You shouldn't need more than one coat of primer. Now for tools, I really like the velour 6-inch skinny rollers. Don't do the foam. They're gonna tell you to use foam at the store, but I don't think that the application is as good. It splatters, it doesn't give you a really smooth look. So I like the velour rollers, just a personal preference. And then you're gonna want 2-inch brushes. Especially for the primer, don't use an expensive Purdy brush because you're most likely going to either be throwing it out or just using it for primer because it's a really thick product and it's kind of hard to rejuvenate that brush. Even if you use something like mineral spirits to get the paint off, don't use a super expensive brush to prime. I did use 2-inch Purdy brushes with angles to do all of the cutting in. So that is an important step. And what we did was I would go around and cut in on the insides of the cabinet where the trim was, and then the outsides, and Morgan would follow behind me and roll to get the smooth finish. You definitely want to roll the faces and the sides of the cabinets for a really smooth look that doesn't show lines, brush strokes, or too much wood grain. We ended up doing about 3 coats on every aspect of the kitchen. We also, quick tip, we went around and paint taped the floor and the trim so that way we could paint the trim without getting it on the floor or appliances. We basically, all the prep work was like taking off. Well, that was, I guess, another part of the prep work was taking off hardware, doing the paint tape where we didn't want to get paint because having to scrape the paint off of our tile is not fun, even though I have some to do. Definitely get drop cloths and brown paper or old sheets, things that you can cover, you know, your kitchen with and your granite. So like or if you have granite or whatever your countertops are. We also did paint tape up underneath the granite. So that way when we were painting or cutting in the cabinet that met the countertops, we weren't painting the granite. Even though you don't see it, it's just like, I don't know, I'm weird like that. I ended up, now I really love the look of brass, and I wanted to do an antique brass for this kitchen. Eventually I want to do like the real deal unlacquered brass in our like forever kitchen, but I'm not going to spend that kind of money for this one. And these are such a good priced hardware on Amazon, 20 bucks for 10. We needed like 25 and they are on back order, which is kind of a bummer, but they're super well made, very sturdy stainless steel. Now I have a lot of brushed nickel in this kitchen, and when we were looking at the cabinets with the hardware, I was like, it just doesn't look right. You know, should we do black? Even though I didn't really want to do black. Design-wise, black would probably be better, but we are looking to redo the backsplash and lighten that up as well with like a terracotta tile. So I think it'll work, and we're changing out the lights, the pendants, so we'll bring in more cream and antique or aged brass. It's actually called champagne bronze, but it gives a brassy look. But all the appliances in the front of our kitchen are brushed nickel, and so it's overwhelming with brushed nickel. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is, and I really like how it all turned out. We're also going to be changing out the faucet here pretty soon, but like one thing at a time, you know what I mean? We waited a couple hours before installing the cabinets back onto the brackets, which was definitely smart because we had a couple touch-up areas the next day where we kind of scuffed them. So definitely make sure you allow them to dry before you place them back on. If you have shorty cabinets like I do, it is what it is, you want that kind of like open shelf look, you can actually take the cabinets off, keep them off. You can fill in the holes with putty if you want, but we did that over the refrigerator to give like a little cookbook moment, which I think just gives it a little bit more thoughtfulness to the design. It allows us to display some things, gives it a more finished, well thought out kind of look. So those were my tips on renovating a kitchen, painting the cabinets. I'm excited to share the final product with you guys. Hopefully in the next few months, once we get the faucet, the pendant lights, we are gonna be doing the breakfast nook, which is directly next to the kitchen. Hopefully sourcing a vintage bench and table here pretty soon. We live in an area with a lot of salvage yards and antique places, so we're on the hunt for something special. So if you guys like these kind of DIY videos, you want to see more home decor stuff, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and follow along on social. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you in the next video. Before I sign off, don't forget to check the description box for where you guys can get your 7-day premium free trial of Skillshare. Try it out. If you're someone who wants to tackle projects on your own, but you feel like you need a little help, definitely check out the interior design courses. They're so helpful. They've really helped me kind of narrow down some of my decisions, like our couch, like how we're fitting the couch. That is going to be a whole video in itself, which I can't wait to share with you guys, but I'm getting ahead of myself. As always, I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you in the next video.